Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming today. My name is Rupmeet Singh, and I work at Optimus QA. Little bit background about Optimus QA to begin with. We are testing QA-focused organization, one of the largest in Western Canada. We are 100-plus team, and we are spread across Vancouver, Toronto, and New Delhi. Our headquarters is in Vancouver, and Toronto is more of a sales office. Most of our delivery happens from Vancouver and India. We provide end-to-end testing services, which includes manual testing, test automation, script writing, as well as functional testing, UI testing, and all end-to-end services. Now, on coming to a little bit more about the services, we also provide testing as a service model. This is a model I would be speaking in future slides. And we have a good portfolio of customers. We have done around 400 plus projects and with 70 plus customers in town. So we are BC focused. Okay. Before I begin, this is the agenda for today. And before I begin speaking about the testing challenges and stuff, I was wondering, by show of hand, how many of you are digital agency project managers? Okay. And how many of you are related to QA or testing, say, section of the digital agencies? Like, okay, cool. And the rest, I know about you for sure.
I work at a gaming studio, so everybody knows their names.
Okay.
We have a community.
Okay. All right. So feel free to ask any question in between or even after, and we can also chat offline. Okay. Let's start. Before I dive into, there's some information from Dilbert, and I hope you'll find interesting. Okay. Okay. Now the fun stuff is over. So this is a question for you guys. What are the top challenges you guys face in your day-to-day work at digital agencies? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Never know how bug-free the beta is going to be before the developer gets to zero the first time.
Okay.
So for QA, maintaining test.
Maintaining test. Okay.
How long bug testing or bug fixing is going to take?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So is it basically a timeline sort of thing? Okay. And yours are would be more on the resource side? Your challenges, can I put under that bigger umbrella?
I would say it's more schedule.
Okay.
Than resource.
Okay. So
A little bit of both, yeah.
milestones and delivery sort of thing?
Resource at that point, if you throw more people at it, it doesn't really help.
Okay.
So you have people who have developed it have to fix the bugs. So if there's 1,000 bugs instead of 10, you're in trouble.
Okay. And so how about, say, frequent requirements that are being changed by your customers?
Never happens.
So your requirements are outlined and properly defined before you start the project, or it changes?
That's not usually why I see the bugs. It's more sloppy code and just, oh, I never got to that, or I didn't run a unit test, or I just went too fast, or...
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we engage with many digital agencies, and these are the top challenges that I see, or say Optimus sees in when we discuss with digital agencies what are the top challenges, in addition to what you have already mentioned. So devices, OSs, there are many devices, many OS that are coming in the market, and you guys develop awesome products on mobile or web, and so testing becomes a challenge for that. Then you may need specific resources, which may be competent on specific tools and technologies, then industry-specific knowledge that you may need to test those specific products, and project delivery might be tight deadlines and stuff. So I'll be going deeper into it in the upcoming slides. starting with the devices and OSs, these are the challenges that we are facing, that these days, every device is different. It has more CPU or some has less CPU. There are memory issues. There are display problems, like or say display of an iPhone would be different from a display of a Samsung Galaxy S3. Then there are some keyboards which are like physical keyboards. They are touch screen keyboards. For example, on a Samsung Galaxy X3, you will see the keyboards have 1, 2, 3, 4 along with the alphabets. But on the iPhone 4S, there are only alphabets. So as a tester, when the testers are testing, they have to make sure that what are the keys to press, what are the different things they need to be careful of. The other things are there because of different devices and different places where they have to do the testing. The screen sizes are different on these devices. Now coming to the power, I would say an app would, in my experience, an app would act differently when, say, my mobile battery is fully charged as compared to when it is about to die. So those are different things are happening in the devices which are creating those lots of challenges in terms of testing. And then the network, it has to be tested on Wi-Fi, or it has to be tested online or offline, LTE, those kind of networks which are available. And now, this is fancy. Then you have special features on your devices. Location, barcode scanning. For example, how many of you over here use MyFitnessPal? So, okay. So I use it personally. So let's say if that has a barcode scanning functionality where you can scan your, say, a NutriBar and say, okay, oh, how many calories it is. So it counts it for you. So those kind of functionalities are there. Then how many of you use here Starbucks app? Okay. So here it also has a barcode. So in both the examples you are seeing that on the first one, it scans the barcode and receives the information from it's talking to the cloud and stuff. And in this case, it has the barcode and gives out the information to the scanner. So those kind of things. Then how many of you are aware of Square, the new product, right? So that is an additional device that you plug into your iPhone, and it syncs with your app, and then you make a swipe of your credit card. And so because of all these different special functionalities added to your applications or products that you are developing for your end customers, that adds a different layer of complexity. Okay. You guys agree with this? Okay. Any questions on these? The first one, the first challenge. Okay. So the next challenge, what a digital agency in our perspective they face is technologies and tools, or experience in technologies and tools, as well as the experience of the industry. So, for example, a senior tester with an experience with different industry would be helpful in a project where he or she can foresee, okay, what are the different types of testing, or what are different areas of testing he or she can bring in on the table, so that the product, when it goes out to the market, is very well validated, is done a proper QA. And likewise, there are other tools and technologies experience. Technology experience would be, say, whether the person has experience in Java code writing for writing the test automation scripts, and Loyal would cover his test automation products. So experience in creating those products, or experience in using those test automation products, which will be helpful in terms of mitigating those challenges. Then there are other points that you have mentioned initially about the changing requirements or deadlines which we are not able to meet, or that might be because the deadlines we are not able to meet, we are not able to do proper QA or provide proper testing in before releasing the product to the market. So these are the top 3 challenges that we think would be for digital agencies they might be facing. Any questions on these ones? Okay. Now let's go on the typical approach. How the digital agencies can take these approach to mitigate these problems. So going to the first one is capture information about the market segment. So whenever a digital agency project manager or a digital agency is starting a project, make sure that you have all the knowledge about which market they are targeting. For example, if you are developing a product for, say, US or, say, Canada, mobile product, so you would assume that most of your customers, they are either on iPhone 5 or 5S, or they are on Samsung Galaxy S3. But if, let's say, you are targeting a product for India, you would see most of the demographic, they are using Android-based products. So these are certain information that you would like to capture before you start the project. Then other thing would be the mobile test priority metrics, where you can say, okay, these are the 10 devices that we would like to do the testing. And these are the OS operating system combinations in regards to the testing priority. These are things that you would like to address. Then the other component would be whether this application or this product you would like to do testing on the iPhone or an iPad, like a phone or a smartphone or a tablet. Those kind of equations you have to measure in terms of starting with your testing. Make sure that you test both on online and offline, because as I mentioned, your application would react differently in these in these options. Then make sure that you are covering all the required screen sizes, as you know that they behave differently. And this is the most important one, one of the most important ones, which is testing at all the 3 battery levels, full, medium, and half. Because sometimes what happens when you are playing with your phone, or in your game testing example, you're playing a game, the speed slows down, or the performance, you would have noticed that the performance would be bad if, let's say, you are playing at the very low battery. Okay. And the network. And next one is on the backward compatibility. So let's say if you are testing on, say, iOS version 7, point X, make sure your app is also compatible with 6.9 point something. Okay. So another point I would like to share would be build device libraries. And there was a recent article on TechCrunch last week where it was saying that if, let's say, your device is getting older and you are planning to buy a new device, don't throw the older device, because that can be used for testing purpose. So there's a pretty good market that is coming up on keeping the older devices and using for the older previous version OSs for testing. So build your device libraries, that would be helpful. And explore the opportunities for using mobile cloud testing. Example, Perfecto Mobile and one of the products which Loyal would be sharing today. Use test automation and introduce testing partners in the projects. So that would be helpful in regards to, let's say, for example, at last minute you need some testers to wrap up your testing or to deliver the project on time. Then these testing partners can be helpful, because they will provide you on-demand testing resources, as well as the task, which is testing as a service, would be helpful to explore. Any questions so far? Okay, yes, please.
Yeah, I was talking to Habanero about their new site last year, and they did a presentation on how they tested their responsive site. And they did a test, they looked at the stats of who was going to their old site, and they identified 173 different devices that were looking at their site.
Wow.
And so in terms of testing for responsive in different sizes, I asked a question, how do you possibly test for all those devices? Do you have them all? Are you testing on all of them? Mm-hmm. And they basically said we chose 3 to 4 break widths, and we just basically tested to those on just a small subset of the devices.
Mm-hmm. So that's exactly the right approach. And The thing is, when you create your device priority metrics, that is where you say, okay, these are the devices that we would like to. So everything boils down to budget, the dollar value. So how much budget you have in order to invest into testing. So that metrics helps there. Okay. So going deeper into the task model, where how testing as a service model would help here. In this model, where you have the services, where you provide, where you get all types of services in terms of web, mobile, or say desktop application testing, depending on the product that you have, or it is a system testing or a compatibility testing that you would like to do. So those kind of services are covered in the tasks. Then tools and methods, which would cover, say, all the automation tools that you would like to explore. Say, for example, you would like to do some Calabash, use Calabash for mobile testing or Selenium. That is there. Then performance testing, say, if you want to do use an open source tool like JMeter or say commercial tools, then these are available in the task models. Then on the platforms, there are in this services, when you explore these services as when engaging with the testing partners, then you get remote testing locations or remote testing infrastructure already set up, where you can just deploy your application and it can be tested and verified. And then these resources can be provided to you either on site or offshore or at a hybrid model. So this is a model which most of the digital agencies are using or exploring to mitigate those challenges on the resourcing side. So how would it look like in terms of when you have multiple projects and you are engaging, say, a testing partner? So let's assume there's a digital agency A and they have project team 1, 2, 3, 4 up to N. And you have one or many testing partners. What you can do here in project team 1, there would be, say, an internal test lead at the digital agency and a project manager and a developer. And then you can pick up, say, specific resource on, say, iOS testing tester, a junior tester, or say you can pick, say, Android senior tester, or say a test automation engineer, and you can club them together and build your specific team. So these resources are available at your dispense. Okay. So there are different ways how you can build your team or say expand your team in terms of testing. So next one is on the delivery management side, where you will say you have digital agencies in blue and then the QA architect who would be coming in and say building your QA strategy of your specific product. You capture the requirements, you have all the questions, you prepare the project plan, the test plan as well as the test estimate, you build up all your user stories, then you move on to creating the test environment, setting up the test environment, and then the sprint starts. So in that case, you get all your test case creation. It's a basic process of testing where you have 1 to 2 sprint cycles, 1 to 2 weeks of sprint cycles, and a daily scrums where all the 3 components where the project manager, developer, and the testing team engages to provide the complete testing services. Okay. Any questions on the delivery management? So basically, these are the 4 recommendations, top 4 recommendations that we have for digital agencies is introduce testing from beginning, the first point that you mentioned, ma'am, there near the door. And then the next one was building the device library. And third one is include the test automation, whether it is you can include a commercial tool for test automation or you can have an open source one, and leverage testing partners. These are the takeaways. Okay. Yes, please.
What does it look like when you introduce testing from the beginning? Like, what are your objectives? Specific, I mean, obviously.
So including testing from the beginning is basically you get the complete picture about, okay, if I am picking up, say, 5 devices and with these OS combinations, how much time will it take to complete the testing? So preparing, getting that test plan in handy. And also as what Mark mentioned initially, about giving the example of habaneros, where they selected only, say, 5 devices or 7 devices. It adds up how much will it cost, as well as the duration of the complete testing. So that helps in basically getting the big picture initially when you are in the planning phase. Now coming to the execution phase, when you are doing the development, you get the quick feedback, okay, which features are working perfectly fine or which features have more issues, what are the defects in those. So those feedbacks, if the developer receives quickly, then the product release cycle reduces. Yes, please.
Question. So, how many of you guys in here have actually done QA before? Okay, good. So, I'm coming from the game space. I've worked
Okay.
in relations as well briefly, but I found what made it possible to do custom partners is that you had to have a pretty fairly structured design document. You have some kind of documentation.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a test plan in your own internally.
Mm-hmm.
You needed to have a good sense of where to put the emphasis in the test and how to go over that thing. For you, if you're going to be working with a new partner, is there any kind of toolkit that you hand them to work with you, or what is your ideal situation to walk into working with a company? What would you like them to have prepared? Because I mean, some of us who touched it, I'm sure you know, it's just
So,
spend a little time getting to know each other, getting acquainted, more time to doing it, right?
sure, exactly. So that's a very good question. So the ideal would be we have even the test cases created by the digital agencies, and we can just go in as and test, or the testing partner can go in and test. But here, when you are looking for an extra help, so it would be whether you are bringing that person on board or you doing a partnership with with a company, with an organization like Optimus. In that case, initially, the helpful would be if you can provide us those design documents and perform a walkthrough of the game. So that would help us in understanding, because see, as you mentioned, you are a tester. So if, let's say, a design document is shared with you and an application overview is provided to you, it would be pretty easier for you to pick up, okay, these are the certain components and where the loopholes can be in terms of testing. So a tester behaves in a similar way.
How prepared do you find those agencies are to work with you? Have you had to do a lot of hand-holding? I hear people laughing. How organized are those agencies? Just like an afterthought?
Probably less organized than most people think,
Yeah.
at least in our case.
Yeah.
On the size of the project too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really big project, you really have to be sure to integrate QA early.
Yeah, but let's say if you have, say, your own projects are, say, 1 month or say even lesser than that, then having a having a testing partner might not be that useful unless you don't have a QA in-house. But
The back point is you go a month ago and you look at your house already, you start with your basic configuration runs.
But say, speaking about Optimus QA, I can say that, but I may not know about the other testing partners. We work with other digital agencies where we have done testing cycles of 2 weeks, where 1 week is, say, the initial testing, and the second week is once we have logged the bugs, they fix it, and we do the next round of regression testing. So we just get the application location where to download, or if it is a web-based, where to log in, and we prepare an estimate based on the first initial observation about the application, and we prepare a list of questions. In an overlap session of, say, 15 minutes it can be from 15 minutes to 45 minutes with the project manager at the others and the digital agency side, we fairly understand, okay, these are the key areas where they need the testing. So that is, we, at least at Optimus QA, we do that.
Sounds like never done.
Sure. Okay. Yes, please.
What's your experience with some of the tools like browsers that are comparing it to like actual devices? Success rates for testing?
I am not technical enough to answer that question, but based on my discussion with my technical team members, definitely there's always a suggestion from the experts is always try to use devices where possible, because it would be the performance would be different in if you're not using devices and using something else, say emulators or simulators.
We've had some fails lately, so I was just curious from your experience what's happened. We've had some situations where we get strange browsers back screenshots, and we're like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Right. So I should have picked this first. Okay. Okay, these are my details. Please feel free to connect with me. And if you have any questions, we can discuss offline. Yes, please.
Is there a minimal engagement that you guys take on? So a certain amount of hours or contract dollars that you won't go below?
Not like minimum 6 figures, but yeah. So that depends on the relationship with the digital agencies, but typically, because I understand digital agencies projects are pretty smaller ones, so like I said, there are 2 weeks sprint cycle, 2 weeks of testing cycles for each project with the digital agencies. So that is the bare minimum we can go, as long as we get the visibility about when the testing is happening and when the resources are required. Okay, because all the digital agencies, most of the digital agencies, they have their internal QA, but they would like to see the response or the testing to be done from the extra set of eyes. So that visibility is a little bit important for us.
How do you, this is a situation I've run across with offshore testers, is that they can only test the user aspect of the application. And unless you give them, unless they're developers and you give them full access to the database, they can't really test that the proper data is being captured in the database in the right way, or test things that you can only see in the code that are happening behind the scenes. And then, so we've had applications break, or there was one situation where we were collecting user data for t-shirt sizes.
Okay.
And the form was there, and you could enter in your t-shirt size, but the database wasn't actually capturing t-shirt size. And then the contest ran, and then we had to email everybody after to ask them what their t-shirt size was. And they said, didn't your testing catch this? And we're like, no, because they don't have, they're only using the application as a user, not as, they're not going into the database. So how do you approach that kind of situation where the developers of the agency are sort of hesitant to give the remote testers access to their code base?
Okay, so is this question specific to offshore testers, or because Optimus is not?
Or remote meaning, remote or offshore. So remote meaning at a different company, or like
Okay.
a third-party service.
Okay, so third-party service. Let's say, let me ask you a question that would help me in answering preparing the response. So let's say if you want to hire a tester in your digital agency, would you be providing the tester all the access, or the developers will again be restricted to provide the access to the database?
Yeah, well, in this case, we only hired the tester to do user-based testing, so they did not get access. But we would have to screen them to even see if they were capable of going into the database and have that kind of technical knowledge.
Okay. So that is, again, I think it boils down to the scope. So in this case, if I understood correctly, is checking the database might not be in the scope. That's why we are not being provided the access to the database.
Right.
So if that is not in the scope, then it would not be in the plan. However, if let's say the checking the database is in the scope and we are provided the access, then definitely it will be covered.
And when you're working with clients, do you kind of highlight those issues and say, hey, there's a whole part of the application that we're not actually testing because we don't have access to it, or do you just kind of
So whenever we provide a project plan, there is a section called assumptions, and there's another section called deliverables and non-deliverables. So in the assumptions and these sections, these points are clearly mentioned. What are we testing? What is our assumption? Do we have to test in the database, or we don't have to test in the database? These points are already covered, and they are discussed with the digital agencies or the project managers at the digital agencies, so that everyone is on the same page before the testing starts.
I've dealt with this kind of stuff before, and as a project manager on my projects, that you have to do a use case for everything, right? You have to think about the flow of user experience going through like service design, all of your products, all the experiential touch points, everything. And so as you go through, you think about how they're going to interact with the site, you map that out, and then you'll have a comprehensive assessment of where you can have external people looking at things, and where you have to have your own control points, and where you have to try it out for yourself. I think that's, I don't know that even if somebody's a fantastic, experienced professional like David, I don't know if they can ever account for all those things. Ultimately, I think it has to come from internally, and you need to think about that in your design stage when you're thinking about not just the integral components of the site or the product, whatever it is, but all of the service aspects of how the customers interact with the product. That's how I would address it. But that was a good answer. And it's good that you account for as much as you can.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. Yes, please.
Have you dealt much with testing the wireframe stage and the prototyping stage, or do you get to the product only when it's basically iteration 1 or iteration 2 of the final product?
So the engagement, we would have started in the wireframing stage itself, but however, doing the actual testing, that is basically would be in the alpha or the beta release cycle. Okay. Because I'm giving example specifics to digital agencies, because in our experience, digital agencies, they would like to just quickly skim through and see, okay, what are the different bugs which are on the surface that they can easily fix right away. And once they are confident on the product, then they give it to us and say, okay, hey, this is the break it now. So we then do the testing.
Yeah, I guess there's bugs where the application breaks, and there's bugs where the design was not properly done, right? Where that flow doesn't work properly, or the user can't navigate out of. And those could be ideally captured in the wireframe stage or somewhere along that line. In the previous project, we thought we'll give a try to a prototyping tool, and that prototyping tool ended up being so easy to use and so interesting that we put the whole thing in the wireframe, the whole interaction in the wireframing, and we ended up doing the wireframe testing on that tool as well, way before the code was written.
Okay.
So it was a first for me in that project. I thought
It's interesting.
What's the tool?
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty fancy. It's expensive. I don't know, $300 a week or something like that.
Wow.
It's worth it.
It was totally worth it. Yeah.
I was thinking about giving an Azure tutorial and one meetups next year. Just finish the big project in it. This year. Next year meaning like after summer.
That's a school cycle. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Thanks.